So I think that right there kind of like, it puts the woman really like down. Also, like they're pushing all this LGBT stuff, which me as a conservative, I'm a Christian, and I've read the Bible a few times, and I don't have any problems with anyone, having a relationship with whoever they want. But I think that pushing it into kids and actually having drag queens shows at schools and teaching kids about, I've seen videos about actually dads going up to the school board meetings and actually reading books, like very graphic books that not even the school district people wanted to listen to it. And these are books that are on the schools, where they have the books at schools. Another thing is also about immigration. I mean, I came from Cuba legally. I went through a process that where they had to check all of my criminal record. I had to do a health check. They had to know my what do you call it? Like what was my level of education? They did a whole background check, and just like me, there is a lot of people that are waiting online, and it's not fair that then somebody comes and just opens the border, and then people that are waiting for 5, 10 years, and then you're gonna let all these people come in. I don't think that that's fair.
Okay,
I
so you said a lot. The first thing that you mentioned was Cuba, and you said that you see a lot of similarities between the regime in Cuba and leftists in America.
Yeah.
The regime in Cuba basically wanted to essentially seize the assets of the bourgeoisie. The left of America is not doing that, especially not the Democrats. They're not calling
I
for.
understand, but
Hold on. Let me finish. Gotta let you talk for 5 minutes. Like the left of America, the most extreme thing that they're saying is to have universal health care. So when you said that the left of America is copying the Marxists over in Cuba in a whole dictatorship that oppresses people, the left isn't calling for that. So how do you see them doing the same thing? That's kind of ridiculous. But the second thing that I would say is that you brought up everything with trans people, with transgender people. When it comes to trans people in sports, right? That's something that that needs to be figured out. I don't have all of the answers. I'm not going to say that I do have all the answers, and that's something that does need to be discussed and figured out. But when it comes to trans people, these people do exist, right? They exist and they have a certain disposition. If they exist and have a certain disposition, we should treat them like the human beings that they are instead of trying to denigrate them or saying that they're mentally ill or trying to change the people that they are. We should study the condition or the disposition, understand exactly why it happens, and then we can go ahead and move on with our lives, right? This was the same thing with homosexuality. People thought that it was a mental illness, and we found out that it's not. It's just a regular old condition of humanity, just like you and me. Yeah, I mean, so what's going on right now with trans people is that we don't want them to be denigrated, and I don't see why that's an issue for everybody. As far as them being in sports, that's a thing that's up to science. They have to go ahead and figure that out. It shouldn't be up to the court of public opinion. But when it comes to drag queens, I don't care who's reading to kids, honestly, unless they're harmful people. But I've seen the books that drag queens read to kids. It's none of the graphic stuff that you're talking about. So those dads going to those schools and reading those graphic things, they got them literally from the adult section of the library. So like kids do have access to the library. They can go to the adult section. No one can stop that. But it's literally the
but it's
adult
at the
section.
school.
Hold on.
It's
This
the library
literally
in the
right. I
school.
understand, but it's literally the adult section. You see what I'm saying?
How is
So
an
it's
adult
like,
if it's at the
hold on,
school?
hold on. It's the adult section. You see what I'm saying? But like, if they're saying that these are books that are in elementary schools, somehow, some way they got in, yeah, sure, take them out. But no one is pushing for those things to happen to kids. As a matter of fact, I always
They
say
want to
that
push it.
every I always say
They
that
want to push it
every
at the school.
I always say that every accusation is a confession, right? Because the people who get caught, with this type of material that has children or caught, harming children, being bad with children, being PDF files, it's usually always some pastor or Republican Trump supporter. It happens all the time, but they're blaming the drag queens for it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like if we want to go ahead and protect the children, I think everybody agrees that protect the children. Maybe we should look at these people who are always talking about, it's all the drag queens' fault, but they're the ones always caught with child images. You see what I'm saying? We should look at them. But the last thing that you the last thing that I think that was the last thing that you talked about. Oh, the last thing you talked about was immigration. When it comes to the immigration system, one thing that people have to know is that our immigration system is completely broken. We have people waiting in line from 1995. That's over 20 years ago, and they're still waiting in line. We need to do something about our immigration system, and the people who are coming over and asylum seeking, that is the legal way to do it. You coming in and knocking on at the border and saying I'm seeking asylum, that's the legal way to do it. There's nothing legal about that.
Yeah, but don't you think that those people should be background checked to make sure that these people are actually really, if they're seeking asylum, we got to make sure that these people are really being politically being persecuted, because you cannot just say that you're being politically persecuted. How do you prove that, I think that we should really check into all that, because there is a lot of terrorists also that are that came through, and we don't know who's here because of the millions of people do you agree, do you think that was right to allow millions of people to come in and we don't know who come in? Yeah, a lot of people were good, but a lot of them were bad too.
Yeah,
You know?
that's just humankind. That's human nature, whether we're illegal or not. I mean, the majority of crimes in America are committed by native citizens, not by immigrants, right? Not
Oh,
even by
of
illegal
course.
ones.
Of
Yeah,
course, the population is native citizen in the majority, so of course that is gonna be,
right,
you know.
exactly. So, but the thing is, when it comes to background checks, that happens anyway. I'm Haitian. You know what I mean? Like a lot of my people came in seeking asylum because they really were being persecuted, or there was a humanitarian issue over in Haiti. You get background checked. Like I've helped my family come over. You do get background checks. They go
No, but
through
you know that now
multiple years.
with the parole, because if you're Haitian, you know about the parole, and you know that through the parole there was no background check, because I brought my cousin from Cuba through the parole, and the parole came out on January 6th of 2024, and he was here on January 18th. I mean, we're talking like what, 12 days? There was no background check, there was no nothing.
Yeah,
When he flew,
I know about the parole program. I'm not sure about your experience, but in my experience, there was background checks. They checked out what they were doing.
because
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
the way it's supposed to be. Now, you mentioned when you started talking, you mentioned a few things, and I forgot. But like for example, one thing that I wanna compare, like for example, Cuba with something that I think that the Democrat Party actually wants to do. It's you know how they want to control the guns, right? And they want to actually like take guns away. No,
no,
they've said it publicly. No.
not are you talking about like the assault weapon ban?
Something like that, yeah. But let me tell you what Fidel Castro did in Cuba. As soon as he took power, one of the first things that he did was to take all the guns out. You know why? Because if he knew that if he would take the guns out of people, then people cannot fight him, and that's why he's been there 66 years. Because nobody can fight him. They don't have the stuff to fight him now. Also, Tim Walz, do you believe in freedom of speech?
Of course,
And do you believe it's a right that we have?
of course.
Well, Tim Walz, the guy that was running with Kamala, he doesn't believe that. He said in his own words, and you can look it up, that freedom of speech is not a right, it's a privilege. So, in other words, these kind of people are trying to do exactly what Fidel did, which is no freedom of speech. And let me tell you a little more. And this is actually a personal experience, very recent experience that I'm actually living. I wear my MAGA hat once in a while, and I had recently I had an issue at the school where they school, which is actually the school board is run by the Democrats, by the way. They blame my child for something that he did not do. And a month later, another student came out and actually took responsibility for it was about a threat note. And actually, a student took responsibility for the note. So I'm trying to get justice for my kid. I went to a news channel and I wore my hat, and the amount of hate that I got, I did not speak anything about politics. It was just about what happened to my son. And most of the people on that CBS 12 news are real that is out there. The hate comments that just because I was wearing a hat, that the only thing that he said was "Make America Great Again." Who wouldn't want to make America great again? That's
America
the
was never
first thing.
great. America was never great.
Well,
But
anyways,
hold on,
that was
hold on.
said.
Let's go back to Tim Waltz. When you brought up the thing about Cuba and gun control, yeah, Cuba has strict gun control, but the most that Democrats have called for is an assault weapon ban, right? But like you have to realize that Democrats are more right of me, right? And I don't want a gun ban. I would rather have guns because I'd rather protect myself against people who will kill me.
Guns
So
don't
that
kill anybody.
no, are guns machines that are made to kill people?
But they are meant, but they don't kill
Right,
anybody
right.
like
Hold on,
myself.
but listen to my question. Are guns machines that are made to kill people, specifically?
Yes, there of course.
Okay. All right.
Just like regular guns.
So that means there needs to be some control over it, right? Because cars are not machines made to kill people, and we
But
still
there is
control them.
control.
Right. No,
There
but
is.
no, but the thing is, our country is oversaturated with them, and now that's very easy to get your hands on it. So the thing is, I don't want a complete gun ban, right? Matter of fact, there's not even a lot of Democrats or even leftists who want a complete gun ban. You won't find that a lot. You see what I'm saying? Because like I'm a leftist in the same way that the Black Panthers were leftists. None of them wanted to ban guns. Matter of fact, they walked around with it, right? So obviously, when it comes to things like guns, and the Black Panthers were Marxists, just like how Fidel Castro was a Marxist, and they walked around with guns all the time. You see what I'm saying? So it's not really about the left wants to ban guns. There's a lot more diversity of thought about that on when it comes to the left. But the second thing that I would say is when you said that about freedom of speech, Tim Waltz has stated that free speech, including misleading or offensive speech, is not a threat to democracy and is generally protected by the First Amendment. Like you told me to look it up, and that's what he said. So when you say that Tim Waltz said that free speech is not a right, you're listening to a lie. He didn't say that. He
Well,
literally said that free
I
speech.
saw him actually a video. I saw a video actually of him saying.
You might have saw AI, or it was a misleading video, or it was out of context. That happens all the time. But when you look up
Oh,
what
I
did Tim
know it
Waltz,
happens all the
when
time,
you
for
look up
sure.
what did Tim Waltz say about freedom of speech, it literally says Tim Waltz has stated free speech, including misleading or offensive speech, is not a threat to democracy and is generally protected by the First Amendment. That's what he said. So you probably saw a misleading video. They probably cut it out of context. But when it comes to freedom of speech, and everybody's fine with freedom of speech. You know, that's not an issue. But what I want to get into the third thing that you said is that number one, no, America was never great. But the second thing that I would say is that I'm sorry that happened to your son. That's terrible. That shouldn't have happened to him. But that hat, the MAGA hat, represents a lot of things that I don't think it's the hat in of itself. I think it's what it politically represents because that hat is a political statement. And when you say make America great again, you have to think of when was America ever great at all? Because when it comes to people who look like me, it never was. As a matter of fact, when it comes to people who look and sound like you, it wasn't. It's now getting that because you've been added into the sphere. But I'm pretty sure even when you came over or any of your Cuban family members will tell you that they face massive discrimination and racism, especially in New York. You know what I mean? Like if you ask Cubans in New York, Puerto Ricans in New York, Mexicans in Texas, racism has always been part of
To be honest,
the American fabric.
I've experienced discrimination before, but never, ever, ever to this level of discrimination just for wearing a hat. Who wouldn't want to have a country that is great? I
Yeah,
mean,
I would love to have a
listen
country
to
that
me.
is great, but America was
Listen
never
to me.
great.
My hat, the only thing that says is "Make America Great Again," and on the side it has the American flag. It doesn't have the Trump on the back, or it doesn't have the 45, 47 on the other side. And you know what? I'm very proud of that hat because I do want to see this country to become a better country, and I'm very proud of that flag because when I became a citizen, I pledged allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Why do I get so much hate for wearing a hat that has the flag of this country and it has something that it says "Make America Great Again"?
I told you two
You know?
reasons. Number one, that
Yeah,
hat is a
but
number
that's not
one.
fair, my
No,
friend.
no,
You know,
it's completely fair. Number one, America was never great.
it is.
Number two,
Okay.
that's the problem. Number one, America was never great, and that political statement saying that to make it great again, it begs the question of when was it great, and not only that, the people who use that symbol, use that hat, have put out a lot of hatred towards people who look like me or don't agree with them.
But
Like
for
I
example,
face,
can you make an example?
yeah, just the other day, someone with that same hat called me the N word right on this page.
Yeah, that is. But you know what the thing is, that you guys think that everybody everybody just we are MAGA, that everybody thinks the same. No, that's completely. I would be the first one to condemn that guy if I see him calling you or anybody, any derogatory things. I would be the first one to do that, because to me that's not what making America great represents. To me, making America great represents a country where we can actually talk, where we can actually debate. We don't have to hate on each other. We don't have to kill someone just because they think different, just like they did with Charlie Kirk. Just because, I mean, they couldn't debate him and they just killed the guy. Like, come on, like,
No,
who does that?
Charlie Kirk was a
You know?
Charlie Kirk was a terrible debater, but yeah, he was racist too.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I got a call,
Hmm.
and the whole thing went silent.
Yeah, no problem. I said yeah, Charlie Kirk was a terrible debater and he was racist too.
How was he racist?
He's
Did you,
number one.
before you answer,
Mhm.
did you listen to the whole podcast, or
Yes,
Okay.
he said like for example when he said that when he sees a black pilot he hopes that person is qualified. That's a dog whistle. He also went on
Well,
Jubilee and said he also went
yeah,
on
but come
Jubilee
on,
and
come on.
said he also went on Jubilee and said that the 1940s was better for black people. In the 1940s, black people were oppressed. How was that better for us?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but I want you to understand what he was meaning about the black pilot was because specifically regarding to DEI practices.
Correct,
Okay?
racism. So DEI practices has nothing to do with hiring unqualified black people. Nothing.
No, but I mean, if you lower the standards,
It has nothing to
just
do
to
with
get
that. No one said that. DEI doesn't do that.
The context.
DEI doesn't do that.
It does not do that.
That's what I understood that it does.
They're
But
lying to you. This is
they
why,
have lowered
right?
the standards.
They're
They have lowered
lying
the
to
standards.
you. Dopey, they're lying to you. That's not what DEI does. They're lying. It doesn't do that. You know how I know? Because at my job, I was in the DEI department. It does not do that. They are lying to you. This is why I'm not a
So
conservative, because they lie to you and they spread
okay,
racist propaganda.
I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen anybody that lies more than the left. I mean,
You just
super
believe in a
obvious,
lie.
super obvious,
You
super
just
obvious.
believed in an obvious lie.
I got to double check on that. I gotta check on.
Go ahead and double check, and I would tell you you'll find out that is a lie. DEI doesn't do that. They do
Alright.
not lower standards in order to give minorities jobs. If that
Now
was
let
the
me.
case, how come the most people who actually benefited from DEI policies were white women? Or would that be the case?
Really?
Really? You can
Oh
Google that
wow.
right now. The people who
Okay. Now
benefited
let
most
me
from DEI policies were white women. If it was
let me
all
ask you
about
something.
lowering standards for black people or other minorities, why would that be the case?
All right. Let me ask you
Obviously,
one
it's
more
a lie.
question before I leave, because I do have to call. It was my wife. I have to call her back. Uh, uh, I personally I don't agree with, like, for example, there are scholarships for blacks and there are scholarships for Hispanics, but I haven't seen any scholarships for whites. Why?
If a white person
That
wants
is
to go to an
discrimination, my
if a
friend.
white person wants to go to an HBCU, guess what they'll get? A
To a what?
diversity. If a white person wants to go to a historically black college, they will get a diversity scholarship.
But hold on. Why does it have to be just historically black college? Why can't it be just? We gotta stop talking
The
about
reason why,
color,
the
my
reason
friend.
why, the
Like
reason
it
why,
has to be.
the reason why is because historically black colleges was created in a time when black people were not allowed to go to college. So that's why they invented them. This is all about
Okay,
history.
but we're past that time. You know that
We are
there's
not.
not supposed to be that anymore.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
So hold on.
don't we
You
talk
you
about
real
equality all the time?
you real so you know that historically black colleges were created in a time where black people were not allowed to go to college. Are you saying that we should shut down all the HBCUs because it's not that time anymore?
No, 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 no. What I think that it should happen is that, like for example, I've read that there are also black dormitories. Why? Why can we all just be a human race? You know what I mean? Why does it have to be about color or no, no? That's what
I would
that's
love for
what
that to
keeps
be
the
the
hate.
case. I would love for that
That's
to be
what
the
keeps the hate
right. I will.
and that flame going. You know?
Dopey. I would love for that to be the case, but that's not the reality that we live in. We live in a reality where a black person and a white person who have the same qualifications, the white person is more likely to get hired and get paid more. That's the reality that we live in. Until that stops, we're gonna keep talking about race.
But if that's the case, just make sense out of this. If that would be the case, right? That let's say that a black person and a Hispanic person and a white person has the same qualifications, right? And someone chooses the white person when the other two have the same qualifications, and according to you, they can pay less to the other two. Why, in their right mind, me as a business owner, because I'm a business owner, why would I hire out of the three that they have the same qualifications? Why would I hire the guy that I have to pay the most? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Racism isn't rational, is it?
It is not.
Exactly.
All
So
right.
you
Well,
just
hey,
proved it. Yeah, that's what I mean. All right, not a problem. Hey, I appreciate you being up, Dopey.
same here,
You're a
my
nice
friend.
guy. You have a great day.
All right. Love you. Bye bye.
Hey, Guts, I've been inviting you up for a while because you keep asking the same question. So I'm gonna invite you up for me to answer it. I don't talk to comments, so come on up and then we could talk about it. I've invited you up several times already. If you want to know what DEI does, I can answer that. But if you don't want to come up, then shut the fuck up and sit in the comments. Because like I said, I don't talk to comments. All right, Dominic, how's it going, Dominic? Are you over 18? And would you
Yes,
like to? And do you think you gave me a good reason? Give me a second. Hey, Guts. Again, I don't talk to comments, so if you're not gonna come up, I'm just gonna go ahead and mute you, and you could fuck off. Because again, I'm not gonna explain to you in the comments. Come on up and talk to me. All right, Dominic. Yeah, you think you give me a reason to be conservative?
the first thing I wanted to address was the 2 points you made about Charlie Kirk, about the statements he gave about DEI, about the black pilot. And then there was a second one you gave. It slipped my mind. Can you remind me what it was?
When he went on Jubilee and said that the 1940s was better for black people.
Yep, that's right. So, can I give you the context to both of those situations?
There is no context. Saying that you're nervous. Saying there is no context. Saying that you're nervous. Saying that you're nervous of a black pilot being in a seat is literally just racism because pilots are the most trained people. Pilots are the most trained people there is out there. They're the most trained people out there. A black pilot being there will probably mean that he's overqualified to be there.
So, do you know what American Airlines published around the time that he said that quote?
What did they publish?
They published saying that they were going to attempt to reach a 50% diverse staff among their pilots, meaning they were going to exceed merit and start looking at hiring at race-based hiring practices.
It doesn't say that. Just because it
Let
doesn't say
me
that.
finish my statement. I let you finish your statement. Let me
Go
finish
ahead.
mine. So he was saying that if American Airlines is going to prioritize a, say, slightly less qualified minority pilot, whether they be black, Indian, Hispanic, a woman, etc., that they would prioritize that over a, say, white straight man who may have more flight hours, may have scored better in flight school, etc. He said that this will make him nervous when he's on planes and he sees these. For example, they might be a diversity hire. That was the context of the situation, and I think that's entirely valid.
It's not. You know why it's not valid? Simply saying that we're going to seek to have more diversity does not mean that you need to sacrifice merit, does
They
it?
put a racial
Hold on, Dominic.
Yeah,
If we seek diversity, does that mean we have to sacrifice merit?
not in a sense.
Exactly. So why would he assume that?
So it's not about the diversity itself. It's about the quota they set on it being 50%. That's not.
They can set
retrospective.
any quota that they want. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they're going to sacrifice merit. Doesn't mean that at all. As a matter of fact, none of the publications even said that they were going to do that. So where did he get that from?
From the
He is
American-
making shit up.
It's not. It's from the American Airlines website.
Bro, you're the one who. No, hold on. It's on the American website. It's on the American Airlines website that says that we're gonna seek 50% of this diversity, and everybody with American fuck off. Is that what it says, or something similar to that?
You're over exaggerating it.
I'm not, because
And
I'm not. Hold on. Dom. This is why I'm not over exaggerating it, right? Because you said that this is the context of what he was talking about. That they were talking about increasing diversity in their workforce. And I just asked you, in order to increase diversity, do you have to sacrifice merit? And you said no. We both agree with that. But for some reason, Charlie assumed that. Why would he assume to have a more diverse workforce, you have to sacrifice merit? Does that mean that people who are more diverse, like black, like Hispanics, like women, are gonna not be able to do the job because it's more diverse?
No, where I was going with that point is it's the quota itself. It's the implication of saying you want to hire a more diverse workforce itself is not inherently wrong, but saying you want to hit a specific quota, you're setting a standard or goal, meaning this is going to be the priority factor in your hiring practices. That is what's wrong with the situation.
If you want to
That was
hit,
where the
but
key
we both just agreed. Trying to hit a goal does not mean you're going to sacrifice merit. Assuming that
I never agreed to that. I said diversity in itself. I never said a 50% goal is not equal to saying we're looking to hire a more diverse staff.
yeah,
But
but
if you
even
hold
if
on,
you even if you have a goal, that does not mean you have to sacrifice merit. It doesn't mean that. So assuming that is based in racism, like 100%. If you say we want to hit this goal of hiring more people, but we know that pilots need to be trained, we know that pilots need to have flight hours, like we know all that. Why would they put that out there and have more dangerous people out there? The assumption that you're going to sacrifice merit to have a goal of this diversity is just ridiculous. They don't have to do that.
It's not ridiculous when you look at the amount of people who are graduating flight school, the amount of flight hours based on things like race and different ethnic groups and different.
Okay, so is there some research out there that says that black pilots have less flight hours and they're still graduating school?
I mean, not that I can recall off the top of my
There's
head.
none, bro. There's none, because I looked it up. There's none. They're all graduating with the same hours, bro. Like that's not happening. So it's like the entire assumption is just racism or sexism if you're talking about women.
So I never said graduation from flight school. I said flight hours as a whole. You accumulate flight hours throughout your career as a pilot.
Right.
So what I
But
was- my-
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what my point was is that if their primary goal is to hire a more diverse staff, this is something they're striving to do, achieving to do. There are would you say that half of the pilots that are graduating from Embry-Riddle or other flight schools are non-white people? Would you say that 50% of those people, or would you say more than 50% are white?
Probably not.
Which you said 50% or more than 50% would be white?
I wouldn't know. They're probably not. I mean, this country is majority white, so flight school is probably going to be majority white people.
So why put a quota that's so high that exceeds the ratio of people in the workforce that are white to minority? That's where the issue comes into, because you have a smaller pool of I just had the word on top of my head.
A smaller pool of
pilots.
applicants,
A
yeah.
smaller pool of pilots.
Can
Yeah,
I
I
say
got
something
you.
really quick?
No, it's not your
Sorry
turn.
for interrupting.
Wait.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I gotta go. Hold on 1 second.
Can I?
Okay,
speak?
cool. No, it's not your turn yet. Give me a second. So when it comes to there's gonna be a smaller pool. I don't disagree with that. There's gonna be a smaller pool, right? But that doesn't mean that just because it's a smaller pool to pick from, doesn't mean that they're gonna have to suddenly sacrifice merit from in order to pick from a smaller pool. It doesn't mean that.
So you're saying that that smaller pool should be overrepresented in American Airlines pilot and their pilot and the amount of pilots they have.
It's not about should or shouldn't be. It's about what did American Airlines actually do? Were they actually seeking to seek out these people and not have any merit to them? Like that's not what they did. So why would we assume that they did that?
Because in a mathematical sense, and I'm not saying they have zero merit. I'm not saying that these are like untrained, unqualified pilots. I'm saying that they are more than likely to be less qualified than, for example, their male white counterparts, because there's going to be more white males in the workforce, meaning there's more likely that they're going to have a higher accumulated flight hours, that they're going to have more job experience.
The problem with that assumption is that it's untrue, because we've actually studied this and we've seen that black applicants on average a lot of times for the same job that white applicants do are actually more qualified, or actually overqualified. But the assumption is that black people can't do the job.
Could you provide the source for that?
Yeah, sure. All right, give me 1 sec. Let me know if you could see that. You probably can't, because I can't see it on my phone either.
I mean, it's really blurry. I'm trying to read it.
And I'm not in dark mode either, so.
No, I can't read it. It's too zoomed in.
What's the website?
All right, you read the question that I asked?
So what I found is that white males between the ages of 50 and 65 are more likely to have a higher number of accumulated flight hours, on average between 10,000 to 15,000 more flight hours per individual.
Okay.
So would that not make the majority more qualified? Would that not make them with more experience, more qualified than their counterparts who don't have as much hours?
Yeah, so, sometimes, but did you actually read what I brought up?
No, I said I couldn't. It was too zoomed
Okay.
in. I was trying to say it was too
Are there studies that show that black applicants with more qualifications than white applicants are still hired less? And yes, there are multiple studies that show that.
Did it specify specific fields in that instance? And then did it cite any sources other than it just being ChatGPT?
Yeah, they actually come up with actual studies from, there's a meta-analysis of 50,000 applications. There's one with 83,000 applications. Robust studies.
Because I know it'll provide like a, I guess, quote unquote source, but a lot of them are unreliable. They're .coms or .orgs that aren't.
Just because they're a .com or .org doesn't mean it's unreliable. That's stupid.
I mean, if you go to any established university and you try and put a .org or a .com in your works site,
I'm in an established university. They have .org and .com on their libraries, bro. This is stupid.
Not citing them for something like a research paper.
Yes, they do. My school's library does that all the time.
I'm in university right now.
Yeah, so am I. I'm in a master's program. They cite .org sites and .com sites all the time. They're in journals. They're in journals, but the journals aren't going to have .org or .com. I think PubMed is. Like saying that is not reliable because there's a .com behind it is stupid. That's just dumb. We have to look at what if it's peer reviewed and stuff like that.
Well, the majority of sorry, the majority.
As a matter of fact, I just looked at it. Is there evidence for this in aviation? And it said yes, there is evidence of racial disparities in the aviation industry, though less is available because they have fewer amounts of research, obviously.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, there's evidence of bias too. It said found that in experiments, participants shown photographers of pilot candidates rated white males more favorably than non-whites. Well, yeah, that one's obvious. So the assumption is that black people just can't do the job, like how what these studies show. So yeah, a lot of them are going to tend to be overqualified. Like we've been through this like for decades. Like there's a stereotype that black people are lazy or less intelligent, so they think that we just can't do the job, or that we're criminal.
The lower percentage of the demographic would represent a lower percentage of the people in that field, especially when there's less of that demographic graduating from that field. I mean, what percent of I'm gonna look.
All right, here's the thing. You keep bringing up the percentage of people graduating, everything like that. All that is good and well, but that doesn't mean just because they have this goal in order to hit this mark of more diversity in their work field doesn't mean they're just going to completely sacrifice the merit of their applicants. They can probably get like applicants from other countries because there's obviously pilots in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they don't have to sacrifice merit at all. Like it's like I think it's ridiculous to say that if they do this like this goal, therefore they're gonna have to get less qualified people or less. That's ridiculous. They don't have to do that. That just doesn't make any sense for them to do. People are gonna die, bro. Why would they do that?
Well, wouldn't in an unbiased sense, like if you were to completely pull out any sort of encourage diversity or any sort of racism in hiring, wouldn't the percentages of minorities or non-white males in the pilot pool be reflective of the candidate pool itself? If
Wait,
it
what?
was unbiased.
Wait, say that again?
I said, wouldn't the number of pilots or the amount of pilots for an airline be reflective of the candidate pool based on percentage ratios if it was completely unbiased?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can talk about why there's less black pilots. A lot of that just has to do with opportunity.
Well, I mean, it also has to do with demographics. I mean, there's 13% of the population in America is black. So why would they represent over 13%, not only in the pilot pool, but what percentage of the pilot pool is black? Would that disparity not be just represented in the amount of pilots? If say
not necessarily, because black people being 13% of the population doesn't stop us from being overrepresented in stuff like retail.
Yeah, but that could be like different demographics of more interest in the field. Like
Yeah,
that,
hold on.
that could
Oh yeah,
happen naturally.
yeah. Of course, it can happen naturally, but hold on. It's not,
Yeah,
it's
my
not
bad. I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, that's
all good and well. But yeah, so it's like all that could all that could just like the demographic thing doesn't really tell us where they'll be represented at. There's going to be less pilots, right? It's probably reflective it's probably reflective in opportunity and like somebody brought up interest because of the opportunities that are available to them, or like in high school or in their environment, right? Like there's not a lot of people becoming a pilot in a lot of black neighborhoods. Like I grew up in a black neighborhood. That doesn't happen a lot. A lot of us get pushed into the military.
wouldn't it have to do with more internalized value systems and not external?
No.
May I just hop in for a second? I won't be here for long. I won't go for that long. With
All right,
one question.
give me 1 second. All right, we're about at the 15-minute mark, so we're gonna have to go ahead and move on for now, Dominic. But I do appreciate you being up. All right, go ahead and come up back up anytime you like.
Yep.
All right, appreciate you. All right, SCG, you said you gotta go real quick. Make it real quick because it's actually Kitchen's turn before you. So what did you need to say?
Okay, so I'm not an American, and I'm not going to get too much involved in American politics. But I see, like the race questions come up here, and I suppose that black people also say that they don't have as much institutional power, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, why is nobody pushing for like merging the black majority areas into having one state, not an independent state, but like a state, like Texas, Florida, and that way you could have, something to bargain with, politically speaking.
There actually are people who claim that should happen, to have an autonomous region of black people. They usually call it New Africa. That actually is a thing. I think they want to combine. I think the states of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, and a little bit of Arkansas. But like they've always said that the black belt of the United States should be its own autonomy. There are people who actually do push for that. It's just not. I'm not sure how possible it is. If that was your question, but I'll get back to you, SCG. But there are people who actually do say that. Let me get back to you then, because it was Kitchen's turn. Kitchen, how's it going? Are you over? Are you 18 and over? And do you think you give me a good reason to be a conservative?
Yes, I am. I'm 37.
Cool. What's that good reason?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, first off, I just want to say I have deep admiration and respect for the way that you debate, and you're very respectful. And I think that's great, because I see a lot of people on here and they're just like extremely rude. But I just want to say a couple things. I'll be quick
Mhm.
regarding the previous gentleman's point. Pre-Civil Rights Act, 1960, I think it was 68. There wasn't proportional representation of the black community in professional fields, and now that there is equal opportunity and proportional representation, I think he's correct in the fact that when you push for extremely high thresholds, I mean 13%, and you have to subtract for children, people that aren't even capable of doing the position. Just like in any race, right? Any demographic, there's lots of people that aren't capable. Maybe they're disabled, maybe they're elderly, whatever. When you subtract for that, it's just unrealistic to push for 50%. And I think that his point was that when you couple that with the abuse of DEI, specifically when we look at the Supreme Court ruling of affirmative action, which discriminated against white people and Asians, you can see how it's already been abused to lower standards. And I think that Charlie Kirk was correct in saying, look, if you're going to lower standards based off the Supreme Court ruling and discriminate, and you're going to push for extremely unrealistic um, levels of diversity quotas, like 50%, then yeah, it's not unreasonable to see a black pilot and say, I really hope that this person's qualified. I'm a liberal. I'm a historical liberal. I voted Democrat, you know, when I was younger, both terms for Obama, when I could vote or whatever. Um, but I've had to like readjust because those types of pursuits, number one, I don't believe in systemic discrimination. And when I saw it being done against white people and Asians, I was just like, okay, now this is just reverse racism. And number two, look, I love black people. I love the black community. My degree's in jazz. I'm a liberal arts degree, so I studied the kind of African diaspora and all that stuff. And I think it's a great thing. The black community contributes so much to society. But racism is racism. It doesn't matter what color skin you have. And I do think when you push for dangerous quotas that are extreme, that you could, I'm not saying they would do this, but they could sacrifice some standard, as was demonstrated in the Supreme Court ruling
All right.
regarding
You
affirmative.
you 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 realize that that can happen anytime, right? They can hire a shitty white pilot without doing any diversity thing.
But it's not systemic. If you have a policy, like that's the problem with affirmative action.
But the thing is, we see that it is
You can
systemic. Like
absolutely-
yeah, you can absolutely do that, and we have
agree
seen that that a lot of times it is systemic. Where like I actually remember I just brought up the study before where qualified black applicants who are more qualified than white applicants, the white applicant is the one that's chosen. That this happens all the time, and that's systemic.
But I think that that's racial discrimination, and I think that
Right,
once-
which is systemic
well,
because
well, no,
this happening across the entire workforce. So if it's happening across the entire workforce, how is that not systemic?
I would define systemic as having to be related to policy or law. There's
That's not
always
what
gonna-
systemic means.
That's my definition. Because
I
there's always
understand
gonna
that's your definition, but that's not what it means. Like for example,
Okay.
let me give you an example of what I mean. Right. Let's say AT&T, right? AT&T. There's no policy for AT&T to say that if there's someone named Jake, you hang up the phone on them. There's no policy that says that. But what if the FCC does an investigation into AT&T and they found out that all their customers named Jake were always getting banged on. They were always getting hung up on. Do you think that that's a systemic issue within AT&T against people named Jake?
This is how I would present it, because what you just said, this is how I would define it. I would say that that would be a correlation causation fallacy, meaning that you're taking the corollary of Jake and you're attributing it to why they hung up the phone. Disparities in outcome are not indicative of racial discrimination. It's just an outcome.
So
have to
how do you
appropriate
explain? How do you explain more qualified black applicants being hired less than less qualified white applicants? How would that not be a racial discrimination and systemic?
qualification- Okay, so if I were to build a syllogism, are you familiar with syllogism?
I don't care about syllogisms. I want you to explain how would that not be
That's-
discrimination?
That's how you build a logical argument. But
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. We're not in philosophy class, bro. I don't want to syllogism.
Okay, I'll just
I
speak in
want you
layman's
to
terms.
explain. I want you to explain how that would not be indicative of racial discrimination.
I'll explain. Because you're looking at one one corollary attribute and not the rest.
All right.
Right,
What
you're
is
looking
the
at
rest that you need to look at? What is the rest?
Well, there's a long list, but just the qualifications alone is just one. So you'd have to look at performance, you'd have to look at negotiation skills, you'd have to look at how they interviewed, you'd have to look at their age, you'd have to look at their character. You'd have to look at,
And
there's
what
a
if we
ton
look
of-
at all that and we still see the same issue?
if you were able to control every single variable and you saw the same issue, then I would say that's discrimination. The
Okay,
problem with these
but
studies
but
is
you
they
you,
only
real,
look at
you
one.
realize how you're gonna get to an issue of ridiculous specificity, right? Because if we say, oh, let's
That's
look,
what's
hold on, no, it's not. Because if you're gonna say, oh, let's look at their negotiation skill. Oh wait, that's still there. Well, let's look at this thing. Oh, that's still there. Oh, let's look to see if they had glasses or not. This is
But that's-
stupid. At what point do we get to the point where we just have to admit that this is racial discrimination?
Can I give you an example of why this isn't stupid? Because science requires a multivariate analysis to produce a conclusion that's logical. If you only take a univariate analysis, it's not going to be worth anything.
But you
why I
realize
was
that these studies don't just look at their qualifications, right? If you're gonna get an application, because these studies don't even get to the interview stage. They only look at the application, and the applications are a majority of the time either equal or they put more qualifications on the black applicant.
Yeah, but
The one who gets a call, the ones who get the call back the most are the white applicants. So we're not even we're not even in the negotiation or the interview stage. This is just applications. So when we just have applications and you have a white applicant and a black applicant that have the same qualifications, or the black applicant has more qualifications, but the white ones get the most callbacks, how do you explain that?
I can give you an example really easily, right? OPM guidelines for federal employees substitute qualifications for experience, right? So that's another variable. Again, if you only look at race and qualifications,
how about if they look at qualifications and experience and see and find the same thing?
you like again, if you did a multivariate analysis and you looked at
They
all the
have, bro. I
variables,
told you that. They've done
the studies I've
qualifications.
seen,
They've done qualifications and experience, and they found that black applicants are not only called back less, they get less money.
yeah, I would say if again, y- there's a couple things here. To claim racial discrimination needs to be proved in a court of law. You can't just say it happens just because of a disparity of outcome,
I
because
didn't say
that's
that, bro. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. You asked
okay.
me about a multivariable both thing. And we're talking about now we're not talking about negotiation skills or interviews or anything like that. We're just talking about applications and callbacks. So
If
when
you're
we see
simply
hold on, listen. We're talking about applications and callbacks. This is before the interview, this is before the negotiations, this is before all of that. They look at these applications with experience, with qualifications, and they done multi-analysis studies about what happens when this happens, right? Between black applicants, white applicants, and Asian applicants. And they see even when the black applicant has the qualifications, has the experience, they still get less callbacks.
okay,
And the only difference, matter of fact, here's the even worse thing. They've even done an experiment where where the resume was literally exactly the same, down to the education. All of it was exactly the same, except one had a black sounding name like
I've heard
Tamika
this
or
study.
Demetrius, and the other one had a white sounding name. But
Yeah,
the resume was exactly the same. How do you explain that disparity if it wasn't a racial thing?
okay. So I think if in that specific study where everything was controlled for, except for the name, the black name and the white name, I would probably say something that was very unpopular, which is that there are certainly some racist people that are discriminating against black people because they think that they're inferior. That's true. There's no doubt about that. But there's also people, and I would contribute some of the numbers to this. People have had experiences that were unfavorable with black people, and they had a preference for people that weren't black. That's probably true as well. And I'm not
So
saying that's
racism?
correct. It's not, no, they don't think that they're inferior. It's just like if I have experiences that are negative with the black community and I prefer a white candidate, then they're
So
saying that their
racism?
preference. No, I think that there's some cases where it's racially
If I had an
discriminatory.
experience, with a black person, so now I prefer white people. That's racism.
Well, no, if you have negative experiences with anyone, you can have preferences, right?
So racism.
Is preference racism?
Yeah, it's racism.
I thought racism was the belief that one race was inferior to another.
No, that I mean
No, that's
that's
always been my
that's
definition.
one of the definitions. Racism has multiple definitions.
But if you,
Well, more
I'm not,
specifically, we could say that's bigotry. We could say that.
and I'm not putting a value like claim on that. I'm just saying that there's probably in that case where it's controlled and the outcome is still disparate, that you have racist people that really don't like black people and they think they're inferior, and then you have some people that probably have a preference, and
So
and
bigotry.
yeah, I would agree with that.
So bigotry.
I don't I don't know if it's bigotry. I'm just saying that that's how people act. You know what I mean?
So
There's probably
bigotry.
some.
And a lot, this could be subconscious too. It might not even be a conscious decision. You
It,
might
there's
associate like
Yeah,
that
they
doesn't
have
happen. Like you can associate certain names with
there's
not even
yeah,
there's
they
consciously
tons
have
of
aware.
black people.
unconscious bigotry. Yeah.
But would you agree? There's tons of black people that voice their opinions on how they hate white people all the time. I see it every day on social media
Yeah, sure,
because they
bigots.
prefer black people, right? They like to
Yeah,
be
sure,
around black people.
they're bigots.
Well, I mean, in our society today, people just say what they prefer. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I mean, people can have different opinions on it. I'm just stating a fact that it's probably a combination of the two, and I would agree with you that racial discrimination would be the only other option if you've controlled for all the variables.
Cool. So we've
So,
seen this multiple times in employment across multiple industries, and we've seen it in healthcare, and we've seen it in real estate, and we've seen it in the criminal justice system.
but do you
So
think
we have a problem with racial bigotry across all of our major institutions.
so regardless of people's lived experiences, you think they should be blind in terms of how
Yes.
they've experienced? Okay, all right, I think that's fair. but I don't think people operate like that. But I would.
It's true that
if
people
we
don't
were in a
operate.
utopia,
No,
yeah.
you're right. People don't operate like that. Because of my experience with police officers, I'm more likely to be apprehensive around them. That includes the black
Right.
ones.
That makes sense. I just think that there's a lot of nuance in these things, and some people just like to, you know, I don't know. Some people over exaggerate things. But anyway, I gotta go. I appreciate your time and great conversation.
Not a
Support
problem.
everything you do. So
Not a problem. I
take care.
appreciate you. Have a good day. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. We're only at 2.5K likes. Let's go ahead and pump those numbers up. Let's get me to 5K likes. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Well, I'm not gonna get out of here in too long. Tom Bond, Tron. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name.
Trombone, man.
Trombone. Yeah. Your
That's
picture
fine.
isn't showing
Yeah.
up for some reason. I don't know why. You think you could swipe out the app and come back in and see if that works? Because people are not gonna know who I'm talking to because your
Yeah, I
picture
think
isn't
try
showing.
that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
yeah. Swipe up and come. Oh crap! I didn't mean from to leave. All right, Trombone. When you're back, go ahead and request again. We're gonna wait for Trump. There he is. Yeah, we're gonna wait for him to come back and see if that works. It's still not working for some reason.
Is it good now? I
Yeah,
didn't mean to.
yeah, it's not. It's not a problem.
Oh.
People know I'm talking to somebody. But yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you over 18, and do you think you can give me a good reason to be a conservative?
Yeah. I'm 21, and yeah, I think I could give you a decent reason.
All right, sure. What's
Now,
that
I'm
reason?
not 100% sure that it would. Yeah. So, first of all, before we start, I want to say that there's obviously a distinction between being conservative and being a Republican or
Definitely.
aligning with the modern Republican Party. I would consider myself conservative, and I think a lot of things the Republican Party has been doing over the past 20 years to not be in line with my values. But I think
definitely.
generally, if you're conservative,
Mhm.
generally, if you're conservative, the things I think that are the things that led me, at least speak for myself, to conservatism, is believing that a lot of the way that our society is and the way our society is structured right now, the way our government operates, the way our norms, whether they be social or whether they be political, a lot of those things I don't think can be changed in a rapid amount of time. I think they are the sort of things that require slow, incremental reforms. And I think the thing that frightens me, both on the left and the right, is when you see people that have these idealistic, like unpragmatic, like ways to achieve like goals that aren't feasible. Because when the way I look at it, the way society and the way our countries are, the way our governments are, it's not like a machine or a mechanism that you can remove parts of and replace them without too much difficulty. It's like a living organism. Every part is dependent and like contingent on each other. And when you start making massive changes rapidly and you transform and restructure things at a very like massive rate, it's destructive and it doesn't work well. So as a conservative, I'm not against change per se. I think change is inevitable. It has to happen. But I think we have to be conservative with the change we make. We need to be careful, and we need to recognize that even if the conditions that exist right now might not be perfect or even ideal, they exist for reasons. The people that lived 100, 200 years ago, they might not have been perfect, but they weren't stupid, and they set up institutions that worked to some extent. And that doesn't mean we're obligated to stay with them forever. We obviously need to move past them. We need to do that carefully and not in a rush and not with any concern for like
So you're saying when we do
like
make change,
pragmatic issues.
gotcha. So you're saying when we do make changes to society, it has to be incremental, and we have to be careful about the changes that we make. I think most people would agree with that, right? I think the issue that a lot of folks have with modern more the Republicans, but a lot of times when it comes to modern conservatism is that it either fights against that change, like doesn't want to change, number one, and a lot of times fight against it. Yeah, I mean, and I think those are the issues. Like you have to drag their feet, you feel me, into like basically into making those changes, and I think that's the issue that we have, because not only do they fight against those changes, but we can see a lot of the old ways are harmful, and they just refuse to to turn it around. Like you said, like society has to change, right? But the issue that we run with a lot of conservatives is that
Yeah,
they just
it's
don't
never-
want to change it.
I mean, yeah, I'm sympathetic with what you're saying. The thing for me is, this is why I think the right and left, at least to some extent, are required to exist, because human beings are just always going to have some level of conservative instinct and some level of progressive instinct as well. They're going to like the way things have been, and they're going to be comfortable with that, even when that's not always the brightest thing to do. So I think we need to have those two instincts in politics to balance each other out.
Hello?
I think we need to have people that say, okay, like I agree ideally with what you're saying, but we can't just make a transformation like this rapidly, without considering the on the ground implications of this. Like idealistically, this policy sounds good, but it might like disrupt people's lives in a very dramatic way that in the long term wouldn't be as good as you might imagine. So I think that's the thing for me. I think when as much as there is a danger in the overly conservative instinct that wanted to keep things exactly as they were, there's also a danger in the rapid progression of and change that like isn't really anchored to the present day situation. That's way too idealistic.
Right. So there's there's a little bit merit to what you're talking about, right? Because like for example, when it comes to living wage, let's say like for example, I support the living wage, the wage being $25 to $27 an hour. That can't happen across the United States all at once because it'll shock the system, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, it doesn't need to be that all across the country because people in probably the middle of Nebraska, like $25 an hour is not necessarily for them to survive out there. They can survive off 18. You know what I'm saying? So like I get like incrementalism in some ways, right? I think the only issue that I have is that there are some things where it requires that. It requires that, we need to take our time. We need to go ahead and go slow, especially when it comes to economic issues. You know what I'm saying? Those things got to take their time in incrementalism to not shock the system. But then there are things where, like, this needs to change, like, yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, when it was a civil rights movement, they wanted that to be incremental. But no, it was like, black people have been without rights or deprived of rights for over 100 years in this country. This needs to happen yesterday. Same thing with women's suffrage. Same thing with a lot of feminist issues, where it was like, these women are not allowed to get a bank account without without a man or their husband. That needs to change yesterday. We don't need to incremental it that part. You feel me? These are the things that I think that we run into issues with conservatives, whereas things were like, we could change this yesterday, and we're either dragging our feet or you're fighting us on it. You see what I'm saying? I think that's the thing. And I think the big issue now is more with the transgender issue, and that, like, I'm sympathetic towards it because I grew up not understanding trans issues. I thought these people had issues until I actually had to learn about it. Right now, for something like that, I think we need to have, where I think the left needs to do is go on a massive education spree. You know what I'm saying? Because of course, a lot of us don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is. A lot of people just don't understand it. So there needs to be a massive education spree. But after that, we can change a lot of this. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where the issue that we're coming from. I don't think I do think it's fair to say that, hey, there are people who are not understand this, and we should go ahead and teach them instead of just calling them bigots, right? I think I sympathize with that position. But there is a plot
a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Give me a second. But
no, my fault.
no, all good. I'm gonna let you say something because I know you had your hand raised. But like for something like that, right? I do understand that. Hey, we may need to be a little bit more incremental because a lot of people just don't understand this. I got that part, right? But what we're seeing is that instead of us trying to figure out why is transgender a thing, like they were doing back in 1914, the Germans were doing it before, the mustache man got into power and he deleted all that research. We should research this. We should understand it. And as far as the research goes, and as far as we understand it, it's just another human disposition, just like being LGBTQ. You know what I mean? It's just another human disposition. Instead of us trying to say, no, they shouldn't exist. No, they're trying to harm our kids. and all this other
We're
stuff. You feel me?
villainizing it.
Or villainizing,
We're
exactly.
villainizing it.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Dungo. I know you had your hand up,
Oh
and I'm gonna
no,
let you go after that.
Even going for a trans people taking that,
Mhm.
a reason to be conservative, completely disregarding lying and false information. And it could be the simplest thing, but when you say something that's not true, or you say something that's straight up off the mark,
Mm.
there are people who will say, "Oh, I don't care," and that's disregarding real things that are happening. The last 7 months has been a lot of that. That is real. There's a lot of stuff that has been said, that has been done. Whether we could say it's the promises, the 2024, everything that's been said in 2024 that we forgot.
Mhm.
That is real things that's happened, and we've just disregarded it. It doesn't matter. That's how easy you can flip your switch. If you want a reason to be conservative, just accept lies. Accept that
Accept
someone can lie to
lies.
you, and if you like them enough, then you won't care if they lie or not.
Just
That's-
accept lies. And here's the thing I would say before I let Tom go, because Tom, I know that was a lot to say, so I'm gonna give you your
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But like the things that I miss, you know, I grew up watching things like King of the Hill, right? I miss the Hank Hill Republican.
Yeah,
You feel me?
Yeah,
I was on PBS, bro. I'm still young. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I miss
bro.
the Hank Hill Republican, because Hank Hill, even though he didn't really understand everything about liberalism or whatever, he didn't get it. But at the end of the day, he was like, I want the best for our country, so I need to work with these people.
Demonizing.
Exactly. I need to
He
work with
didn't
these people.
demonize it.
It's like he didn't demonize people. He was like, I need to work with these people who I don't understand or agree with a lot. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, okay, what is your perspective? Okay, I don't really agree with that, but what can we do to work this out that's best for both of us? You know what I mean? This is what
not
we
just
used to
that.
do. Yeah, I mean, that's what we used to do. Like, I miss the Hank Hill Republicans. You know, that's what we used to do. And yeah, I get that a lot of, you know, because of our listen. I'm going off on a tangent here. I blame a lot of this on Mark Zuckerberg, because it was his algorithm that, you know, promoted ads and for us to stay on the site. So the best way for us to stay on a site is to make us angry. And you know who copied that algorithm? Twitter. You know who else copied that algorithm? YouTube.
Truth Social.
And true, yeah, exactly. So if you want the reason why America is so polarized right now, is because these big tech companies, they put in an algorithm to make us stay on the site, and the best way to do that is to make you angry, and that's how we got polarized. But
I
Trump,
think
go
it's
ahead.
went into people.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
went into people too. People have
Yeah.
taken that like mentality, and they've started incitement. We could just start inciting something and completely going in a circle. Like there's no common ground. You can't get in a conversation and have it goes like there's no common ground. It's like what you said about Hank Hill. That's clarification. That's not instantly seeing something you don't understand and
And dismissing
demonizing
it,
or-
exactly, demonizing it. Oh, go ahead, let
you
Trump
can
go,
miss
because we've
something
been
like that.
yeah.
Let me
Yeah, go ahead, let
I'm
Trump
so
go for a
hungry.
second. Yeah, I got you.
Hey,
Go
yo,
ahead, Trump
I'm
go for a
gonna
second.
leave. I'm gonna leave. Y'all have a
The-
good
the-
night. Y'all have a really good night. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
Not a problem, brother. I
You
appreciate you.
too, man.
You too. But yeah, Trump, you
The-
get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely sympathetic with that. But yeah, the thing is like, even with the trans issue, like I think definitely the biggest issue is in the demonization. Because I think in principle, like if you are having gender dysphoria, if you are not if you feel that your sex is not aligned with your gender, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think I think most people, even most people that are conservative, have no principled issue, no principled stance against that. But they think that when this that when people like lash out against you for getting someone's like gender or pronouns wrong, when there's so much like vitriol thrown at them, that's such a concept that wasn't really in the zeitgeist of people like 30, 40 years ago. But now when you simply have a misunderstanding about it, it's such like, and this is like kind of what the SJW stuff in like the 2010s and like, you know, the Gamergate stuff, that this radicalized a lot of people when like you say things that might be a little bit like controversial, but weren't that controversial 20 years ago, and you're basically called a racist and like a xenophobe. And like, as much as those views might not necessarily be good, and we probably shouldn't be like demeaning people, we shouldn't immediately jump to saying that the people that have those views are inherently bad. And another thing I also point to is you were talking about civil rights and like slavery and the transition we had to make in America from that. Take like the Reconstruction era when we left slavery. We had abolished it, at least in the sense of chattel slavery, but there's still like sharecropping and there's still the prison system that exists today, and it still does in some sense enslave people. But back then in the South, when we were doing Reconstruction, when the Freedmen's Bureau and when radical Republicans tried to implement really fast change, and they tried to have like former slaves at chief positions of power actually serve in Congress, the backlash and violence and vitriol and hatred from people in the South, from white people in the South, was intense. It was immense. Because as much as I think it's good to give people to have this change happen, and idealistically it's good, I don't think it would have been possible in the Reconstruction era to have been promoting things like interracial marriage, or to have like an actual like equality between black and white people in that era, because the majority of the population was so vehemently against it that if you had tried to enforce such a policy, it would have resulted in even more violence against black people. It would have resulted in more people being harmed. So that's my concern. Even if you look back then, even if that change is good, then I might morally be in favor of it. You have to look at the side effects, the potential backlash that can come from it, and you have to be pragmatic. I think that's the issue with a lot of our politics. It's not pragmatic. It's not focused on the grounding of how things are today, and it's more based on idealistic possible.
I want you to think about this, right? I want you to think about this, and because let's use your antebellum example. When blacks were finally given rights and they were allowed to be leaders and governors and everything like that, and there was violent backlash against it because it happened so fast.
Yeah.
If people are unwilling to are so unwilling to allow rights for a certain amount of people that they'll be violent in order to stop it, wouldn't that mean that that those people can't be part of our society anymore?
I mean, I to an extent, yes. I think people that do engage in violence, like obviously the Klansmen, should not have been a part of society because they obviously are not compatible with a
Agreed.
functional society. Yeah, I would
Agree
agree with you in that
So
sense.
yeah, so that I think that's what I would say. If there are people who are so willing to fight against the right of certain people that they're willing to be violent against it, then those folks shouldn't be part of our society. We should defend our society against those type of people. Now, I do understand what you mean by the entire Gamergate thing. You know, when people were saying things that were kind of edgy, folks were calling them bad people, racist, and everything like that. And the thing is, are there instances where probably folks were oversensitive, right? Yeah, there might have been instances like that. But also, what I think happened is that a lot of people were speaking that did not have the language to explain exactly what they were saying. Because 20 years ago, saying, or 30 years ago, 40 years ago, saying, women to get back in the kitchen or whatever, that might not have been a controversial thing to say, but society changed.
Yeah.
So now saying stuff like that, yeah, is sexist, right? But if you say that we were just getting around, we're just joking, the joke is still sexist. Yeah, I mean, and there are some sexist jokes that are just not funny. Yeah, I mean, there are some racist jokes that are just not funny anymore. Like, for example, blackface in minstrel shows. In the 20s, that was funny.
Yeah.
Today is not. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that's what a lot of that happened. There was not a lot of room to explain exactly why things aren't funny anymore and why things are not just cool to say anymore. You see what I'm saying? And I think that type of miscommunication is what happened. A lot of this anti-SJW stuff that happened in the 2010s, it was all really just people not really understanding where the other side was coming from and taking it out of proportion, being reactionaries. As a matter of fact, I argue that the reactionary mindset of back then is why we have a literacy crisis today. because people aren't actually comprehending things. They're just reacting to what they see. You see what I'm saying? So I don't really blame react content or reactionary content, but actually, yeah, I kind of do. I think when politics became reactionary content, that's when we started seeing a lot of these issues, because people weren't, and we can do left or right on this. People really weren't discussing things anymore. They were just reacting to what was happening, and that's what caused a lot of these problems. Like back when the Gamergate thing happened, I was actually able to speak to people and say like, "Yo, this is why this is sexist. This is why this is racist. Excuse me. This is the history of, you know, why I would say this is racist. This is the history of why I don't find this type of race joke funny. This is et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And people were able to understand that. You see what I'm saying? I think people were able to even become better by understanding exactly what was happening. But the fact that we don't even talk anymore, where we let the trolls win, where we let reactionary content win, I think that's where we are right now. If that all makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but the one thing I'll say is you would agree that we're talking about, like, say an example like blackface. The transition we've made away to now, let's say in modern day America, even with the cancel culture sort of stuff in the 2020 and the 2010s not being as strong, if someone goes around and wears blackface, the public reaction and backlash is so strong and so vehement. Like, regardless of who you are, like I'm pretty sure if any like public person does that, your career is effectively over.
Yeah.
The shift that's happened, and I think that's an example of the incremental change that's happened. Because even in the 90s or the 80s, wearing blackface
Wasn't cool.
probably not looked upon favorably, but it wasn't an immediate end to your career. You would still, people would still have necessarily an issue with you. If you do that today, you're not really coming back from that. If you wear like minstrel show blackface, like, you're not coming back from that. If you did that in the 80s or 70s, no one would care. But like, I think that's an example of the kind of incremental change that I think is what really brings genuine transformation in society. You can't just have this kind of change happen over the course of 5 years. It just is not possible. People are not that malleable. People, the sort of gut instincts and reactions people have take often decades to really change. It takes decades of exposure to something for people to feel comfortable around it.
Yeah, and the thing is,
And
I am.
we need a society to accept. Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, and the thing is, I am sympathetic to that, right? I'm pretty sympathetic to that, because I understand. Like, you know, in my 20s, in my early and late 20s, I didn't understand what transgender was. I didn't get it. I didn't even know that people can choose the pronouns or and announce. I had no fucking clue. You know what I mean? So when that changed in the past 5 years, it was whiplash. I was like, whoa, you know, what is this? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, So a lot of people are in the same way, like, yo, I don't get this. And I think the way to do that is people need to, like, you know, kind of simmer down. You feel me? Like, you like kind of relax and say that, hey, let's try to understand what's happening here. You know what I mean? And I do say that for the left as well. I know a lot of people get angry at me when I say that. I'm like, listen, y'all, a lot of things change within the past 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years ago, even though LGBT was that T part was always part of LGBT, that T part was always there, right?
Yeah.
But people understood L, G, and B. Not a lot of people understood T. Now, I mean, it's now in the last 10 years, we're understanding what T is and what it means and the internal experience, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of people didn't understand that in the past 10 years. So we have to, we got to teach. We got to be patient and we got to teach. Now, there are going to be people who are just absolute bigots. We're not going to be able to reach those people. There are people who say that this thing shouldn't exist, that they should all be in jail or be thrown in mental institutions. There are people who are like that. Yeah. You're not going to be able to teach them. But there are people who are willing, you know what I mean, or who just don't understand it now, and you just have to speak with them for them to understand it. There are people who are willing. And for those people, let's go ahead and try to reach out to them. Because, unfortunately, the quick changes that we see in society, has, I think it's because of social media. Everything is so accessible so immediately that we expect quick changes in society, and it just doesn't happen that way. I grew up in an era.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, I grew up in an era where TV shows, the seasons came out once a year, and it was 24 episodes. That's what I grew up on. Nowadays, Yeah.
It's insane to
Look back
look
at
back
because
now. Right now, it's just instant.
yeah. Nowadays,
Yeah.
like TV shows are the seasons come out once every 2 to 3 years, and they're 10 episodes all at the same time. You know what I mean? Huge change. So
You
I
get it
think
all at once. Yeah.
all at once, exactly. So it's a lot of accessibility. You know what I mean? Now for me, I support the trans community. I support their rights. I'm not saying, you know, for anybody who's trans out there, I'm not saying that we need to like be soft-hearted with the bigots or whatever like that. People who want to eliminate your existence, we should fight against it. I agree with that. But I want to tell for the majority of society, they don't understand it yet. So yeah, we gotta teach. You know what I mean? I understand for a lot of y'all, it's not child ministry. Y'all not gonna do it. You don't want to debate your existence. 100%. Do not debate your existence. But there are folks that we have to teach. Yeah, I mean, we have to educate about it. It just has to happen because at the end of the day, if we want more people to understand it, if we want more people to support it, more education needs to happen. It's just unfortunate that it's that way, but it's where we at. That's what I would say. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say even the people that are the most like conservative on the issue of like, for example, like the issue, like the trans issue, with some exceptions, and I'm not gonna actively denounce people that like are genuinely full of hatred of trans people and would want them to be exterminated. There are people out there that definitely that unironically have that position, and that's evil. That's horrible. But I would argue that there are plenty of conservatives that even if they might have a position on trans issues that you might not especially like, they on principle are not against trans people like existing, having rights and having equality. On principle, they're not against that. They just might be uncomfortable with like proliferate issues, like for example, like
Sports.
sport, like trans women
And sports,
like,
yeah.
That's an issue that is not. Yeah, it's not an issue of human rights. It's not an issue of like literally like of really harming people. It's an issue of confusion and of like misapprehension about something that they feel isn't right and shouldn't be happening. They feel like there should be separation and genuine in sports. That might be that's not a hateful position. It's a position that might be confused, but it's not hateful.
Right. They don't view
So there are other issues, even the issue of like trans women in bathrooms or like that sort of issue. That I don't think most people that are arguing about that are coming from a position of actual hatred, of actual racial hatred, which probably wasn't true for other issues. Like for civil rights, I think a lot of people were arguing from a position of genuine hatred.
Genuine hatred, yeah, I got
civil
you.
rights. They genuinely black people were an inferior class. Like one example I read about that horrified me so much when I was like reading through the history of like the civil rights movement, especially in the early 1900s. But you know Booker T. Washington, right? Obviously, you know Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So like in I don't know if it was in 1908 or 1909. He had a meeting with Teddy Roosevelt in the White House, and it was like the first like time a black person had been to the White House, had been to a dinner, and like basically broke bread with the president.
Right.
And the reaction was so immense, so virulently intense, to the point that I think it was a senator from Mississippi that said we'll have to unalive 1,000 Negroes to make sure that to amend the impact and the uppityness that this will cause. Like that level of hatred, of pure like genuine malevolence, malice. I don't think that exists in any from the vast majority of people that are discussing an issue like this. So I think that itself is a good sign. It's a sign that there is a lot more progress that can be made.
Oh yeah.
I think we should be careful. It should be incremental, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that, and yeah, I do understand. Like, I do get the apprehension, right? Like, and again, to people anyone who's trans that's watching, I'm not saying that you have no right to play any sport that you like. I'm not saying that either, but I do get the apprehension because it's something that even I still don't 100% understand yet. You know what I mean? So like, I think things like that should be left up to like let's look at the scientific research. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, of course, we know the basics. You know, males on average are stronger than females, etc. We know those are the basics, right? So, but there are like complicated things here. Like trans issues get a lot more complicated than you're male, you're female. It gets more complicated than that. So because I don't understand that complication, because most of society doesn't, we need to let the scientists do their work, the biologists do their work, the people who are in sports medicine
Yeah.
do their work to understand, okay, can a trans woman be in sports despite the fact that she's male, et cetera, et cetera? Is it going to be fair to compete, et cetera, et cetera? Can this happen, et
And
cetera?
of
Like,
course,
we should let that
it's
happen.
gonna be something that varies it's gonna be something that varies from individual to individual all the time. And also something that there are really creative and innovative solutions you can find. So for example, you could say we should create weight classes to like sort of filter out the differences that might occur.
Yeah,
And we
exactly,
can find
because
solutions that don't boil down to like
yeah, because like I'm telling you right now, I'm a short individual, right? I'm like 5'5" with Timberland boots on a good day. Like Layla Ali is gonna beat the shit out of me if I try to box her, bro. You know what I'm saying?
no matter what.
Like no matter what, Clarissa Shields is gonna body me. Like she's gonna body me if I try to box her. So and I'm a male, and Clarissa Shields is female. So it's like like weight class is gonna be a thing, skill is gonna be a thing. You know what I mean? So of course it depends on every individual. So again, I'm not saying that y'all don't have a right to play any sport that you want. You do have that right. But when it comes to the controversy, let's let the scientists do their work, y'all, and let's see what they say and what it comes to, instead of just trying to ban it completely, denigrate people, or rush everything through. Like let's understand this first. And as far as the science goes, I'm just saying this right now. As far as the science goes, when a person transitions from male to female, it's still competitive. Like females can still beat transgender women. Like that's what I've seen as far as the science says. Like just starting off, right? That's just what the science says. I'm not making any position here, y'all, but like that's what the science says as of right now. We should make more research to see what happens next, y'all. That's what we should do. Let's follow the research and let's understand what's happening. And if the Olympics say that, hey, this is fine, if the NBA say, hey, this is fine, if the WNBA said, hey, this is fine, if the Boxing Association say, hey, this is fine, there it is. You know what I mean? Like, let's accept where the science goes. Does all that make sense, Trump? Did I lose Trump? I think I lost Trump.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there he
Yeah,
is.
no. I'm still here. I'm still here.
Yeah, but all that makes sense of what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Gotcha.
And the one thing I'll say, the biggest thing that needs to be stressed in a lot of these conversations is intellectual empathy. Because I feel that is what corrodes so many like conversations. And this is true for the right and left, universally. When you're not able to like put yourself, at least for a rational person. Obviously, like a raging racist is not something that you can really have intellectual empathy with. But when you're hearing someone making a rational argument for something, if you're not able to put yourself in that person's head and visualize why they can have these positions for like benevolent reasons, I think that's what makes conversation impossible. That if you think the person you're discussing with is just coming from pure malice or just has opinions that are rooted in hatred for people, which is true for some people, it's not true for most people. But if you think people that are coming from a place of goodness are coming from a place of badness, the conversation falls apart immediately. Like if I've ever been in a conversation with, let me give you an example. For like abortion, for instance, this is a really touchy one. If you are pro-life and you think that pro-choicers are going out there and their only goal is to unalive babies, if they just want to like take the lives of babies because it's fun and they like it, like you can't talk to that person. There's no conversation to be had. You're not going to be able to engage at all. If you're pro-choice and you think that pro-lifers as a monolith are just have their position because they want to strip women of their bodily autonomy, and it's not because they think like that fetuses have rights, even if they're wrong, you should at least be able to understand that they have the position from a place of benevolence. They don't have the position from a place of actual malice or evil. They have the position because their perspective of what is right and wrong in this situation is different.
Yeah.
But you two of you still want to achieve a like goodness. You still want to achieve a benevolent outcome. So I think that's what isn't so important for having like meaningful conversations.
Yeah. Don't mistake opposition for malice. Yeah, I've heard that before. Just because someone has an opposing viewpoint or opposing view than you doesn't mean that they're necessarily have malice against you. That's not necessarily true. Yeah, I agree with that. Don't mistake ignorance for malice. Don't mistake opposition for malice. Those things are true. I agree with that. But Tron, we've been here for about I would say 20 to 30 minutes, and I appreciate the conversation. I
Yeah.
appreciate you being up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can get anybody else up, but I appreciate you being up here. All right, great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me up, man. This is probably the best I've had in TikTok for in a long time. I'm not gonna lie. This has been really productive.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I think we should have more of these productive conversations instead of all just
Yeah.
yelling at each other. Now, when I do my religious lives, those things are yelling at each other. It's crazy how
that's
my
how any religious
Yeah.
it's
It's-
gonna end up being.
it's crazy how my political lives are a lot calmer than my religious lives, y'all. This is it's kind of crazy because these are a lot calmer.
Gonna be more personal. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot more personal though, because that's a much more deeply ingrained sort of thing. Like politics is important to people, but religion is
Yeah,
it's
it's
a bit deeper than that.
it's their identity. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get you. Politics is more sports
Yeah.
teams, and if my team sucks, I'm gonna switch to another team. So yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with that.
that's not really true for religion. Like you don't see,
Yeah.
you don't see people move from Muslim Islam to Christianity every now
Yeah,
and then.
religion is
One of
part of
those.
who I am for a lot of people.
lot,
Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, I got you. But I do appreciate you, Trauma. All right, you have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, appreciate you. Thanks. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and keep it going. Keep it pushing. I went ahead and switched up damn, my mind slipped. I went ahead and switched up the board a little bit. Now I'm talking about leftist policies. I think they're better for society. Can you tell me why they wouldn't be? We'll go ahead and be here for I would say the next 30 minutes, and we'll go ahead and talk. Shout out to Archer over on my YouTube. So again, y'all, you know, if I'm making any mistake in my analysis, if you think I'm wrong somewhere, go ahead and come on up. I would love to have a genuine discussion and a genuine conversation. You guys are wonderful. I appreciate everybody watching me either on YouTube or on Twitch. Go ahead, come on up. Shout out to Tiny Science in the chat. What up, Tiny Science? Tiny, you had a debate, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, on Coco's channel, right? Was that you or was that Smurs? I'm not sure who that was. I think that was you. I think you had a debate over on Coco's channel about 2-3 weeks ago, or about 2-3 months ago, and I missed it. Let me know if it's up on his channel, because I was scrolling through TikTok during that time, and I saw it, but I did see it, but I couldn't stay. So I didn't get to see the entire debate. Let's go ahead and keep liking the live and keep sharing. Y'all keep liking the live and keep sharing. Again, I appreciate everybody who's here and everybody who wants to have a discussion. Anybody who wants to have a genuine discussion, everybody who wants to genuinely talk. You guys are amazing. Oh, wow. Hey, Bams, I didn't realize that you've been here this entire time. I didn't realize you've been here this entire time, Bams. Give me 1 second. Let me bring you up to the stage, all right? Y'all have someone over from... Let me see if you can hear me. Bams, you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if anyone else in the audience can. Let me put your mic up and let me mute you. There you go. How's that?
Am I coming through better now?
Yeah, you're coming through a lot better. How's
Nice. And I was just calling through to show some love. That's about it. You were nailing it with the King of the Hill, like a Hank Hill Republican tag. That's a big one, man. Like the base, like from an outsider looking in, for anyone watching, I'm from Australia, so
Mhm. You there, Bams? Bams, you there? You hear me? I think we lost Bams, y'all. Damn, I think we lost Bams, y'all. There you are. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to show love, man. I like the Hank Hill Republican take is probably the best I've heard it. Like the conservatives have changed, man. Like it's very they're starting to revert to some very toxic mentality, and I mean, I guess it's not to be surprised with it, but it is what it is. But that was a good take. So I was just sending through some love. The other take, I put it on the YouTube chat. I'm an archer on YouTube as well. It was just a take with regard to when society advances too quickly. The issue, I believe, is not so much that people we aren't speaking their language. I think there's an ego death that people need to have. You know what I mean? And like me, I'm 6'6", used to hoop. I sucked at basketball compared to like the NBA players, so that was my first ego death.
Mm-hmm.
Second ego death for me was getting punched in the face when I started boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have that, your perspective on things sort of change. You realize like you're kind of a grain of sand at the beach. That's the best way I can describe it. And as such, like your personal hang-up should never be something that destroys the world or society, if that makes sense. So you always push and strive for the best for everyone. And I think that last discussion was a good encapsulation of that striving for what's best for everyone. If that makes sense. If I'm tracking.
Yeah, you're tracking all that. All that makes 100% sense, and that's what I've like basically. I'm always. I think that's why I kind of started some of these streams, because I started seeing that a lot of these discussions, a lot of these debates, they're either not in good faith, or we're coming here just to be angry at each other. You know what I mean? And yeah, and one thing that I've noticed that a lot of people are like kind of addicted to anger, because and that's one of the reasons why I kind of don't like reactionary content. You know what I mean? Because it's like especially when it became to politics, because I started seeing especially during the anti-SJW phase, and even during the leftist streamers phase. You know, we talked about this all the time in the Discord. I used to see like a lot of those conversations was like, yo, a lot of these guys are like kind of angry, and I get it. Yeah, I mean, because it you know, as a leftist, we want to see some of our policies come through, and we can't understand why the right can't see it. But I was always like, yeah, these guys are kind of you know, becoming here angry, and it's causing a lot of these issues. We need to have more good faith, you know, linear, genuine type of the discussions to actually understand each other's viewpoints, give each other's evidence for each other's side, and see where we can find a common ground and see how each other actually think, which is why I kind of ask a lot of questions and see how the person thinks, to see if they can, you know, see where I'm coming from. And if they can see that, then maybe they'll notice, you know, maybe even if they don't completely agree with my policy positions, they'll at least have a better understanding of it. And if they have a better understanding of it, then we can come to a common ground on how to actually work these things out. You feel me? Even though I still want, you know, universal health care, I was able to get a few people to say, okay, if we have a public option, you know what I mean, like Obama was going to do in the ACA, they will have no issue with that. You know what I mean? So even stuff like that, that's, you know, it moves the society forward, in my opinion. You see what I'm saying, Babs?
Yeah, it moves the needle. That's it. You're 100% right. I think you nailed it with like the anger aspect. I think a lot of it is just ego, right? And that anger is that emotional manifestation of that ego to a certain extent. I don't want to sound like I'm Russell Brand and being a mad grifter creeper sort of thing, but you nailed that point too. This is like, I'm going to be gushing heaps of praise your way, so I hope this is not going to turn into a bit of an echo chamber, fart snicking session or anything. So I'm trying to hold back the laughter, but you're right. Like, I think even that drama within the streamer spaces was fueled a lot by ego. People that don't want to sort of sit down and listen to the other side, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
it leads to a distorted perception of what the other person's worldview is, and whether they're going to be an op or an ally, I guess you can say. And I think, especially with 2024, sorry, my son's in the background chilling, we're about to go get some snacks. Especially with 2024 and what happened during 2024, I think everyone needs to move past that that ops versus allies mentality when it comes to the progressive space. We need to start thinking about how we work together to get positive outcomes. Because sometimes it's just as simple as people uplifting one another. And if someone's wrong, pull them to the side and say, hey, I think you could have done this better. Whereas, back 2020, 2021, 2022, a lot of these dramas and stuff that popped up within these communities, people are using the public platform to try and chastise each other. To sort of, like, for me, I'm more cynical, so I think of it as people trying to garner an audience. Which, again, I'll circle back to gushing heaps of praise your way. You seem more interested in the politics and the outcomes than the viewership, if that makes sense. The viewership will come second because people will vibe with you and enjoy your content and learn something from it and be better people after watching it, rather than saying, hey, don't watch this person because they're bad, and moralizing petty beefs. I think that has really been harmful for our spaces.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I always thought like the online space can be a wonderful place, right? Then I started seeing, I started seeing a little bit of drama with the streamers. I'm like, okay, this is just petty beefs. People in large groups are always gonna have little petty beefs. That's always gonna happen, right? Yeah. And then what happened with Cornbread Tube and the streamers, and then the streamers started going after each other. And all the other, it just started getting really bad. You know what I'm saying? Just like how you said, it was ego issues, basically. It was all just, ego. People get big and famous, and, they could do this for their livelihood. And it started, it was a lot of miscommunication that I think happened. We were talking about the in the Discord, between Shark and Cornbread Tube. Now that I'm looking at it, thinking back at it, it was like, this is like a miscommunication issue. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That seems like that's all it was. You feel me? And we should have, people just should have talked more about it and tried to get the discussion out there instead of kind of attacking each other or kind of attacking him. Because like I said, I still don't understand I don't understand you explained to me his side of it. I don't understand their side of it all the way. You know what I mean? And it seemed like it was just a miscommunication issue from what I'm understanding. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of this is what happened in the online spaces. It was every single time there's a little petty beef that happens between creators. It always goes back to a miscommunication. That's what it always goes back to.
Almost, or really, in many cases, in life, anyways. When there's a petty beef between someone and someone else, it's always either miscommunication or a misunderstanding of the situation. That's it. And rather than either hash it out, sometimes you don't really want, like, if you have people that you don't vibe with, you're not going to hash it out with them. Like, that's not going to that's a tall ask. Right. But at the same time, like, people need to take a second, take a breath, and just think about either what that person was trying to do, what that person did, whether they take offense to it, and look at it on the actions and the merits of the action, I guess you can say. Almost like critical thinking with an argument. Like, you generally you listen to someone's argument and then judge it on the merits and the evidence that you have available. It's the same thing when dealing with other people. I just think, and you're right, like, I think within these spaces, because of this debate bro culture and this logic of, like, using rhetorical tricks to try and win an argument rather than the facts, right? What you tend to find is people aren't interested in doing that. They're just interested in affirming their own positions. And what tends to happen when you have that manifesting within these spaces is, people just seem unwilling to engage with someone else's perspective or someone else's argument. Like, we're seeing it play out with Israel-Palestine at the moment, where a lot of people are sort of arguing and advocating for Israel when it's doing, like, the international community, like, we're here in Australia, we're watching that and we're like, man, that's fucked up. Like, you're kind of starving a million people. Like, that's not cool. And yet we still see a lot of people who have taken a personal grievance and beef within the leftist space and use that to sort of hinge their worldview on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, and it's a shame to see that. That's probably the best way to put it. Again, this is going to be gushing your way, man. I'm going to be keeping heaps of praise your way, but this is if you're just tuning into Volsi, go and check his stuff out and keep watching. He's probably one of the few, I would say, out and out positive figures within these spaces that doesn't really dive into the petty beef shit. And you're going to find you'll learn more watching his streams and his arguments for progressive policy and leftism than you will a lot of other streamers out there. So check his shit out.
Hey,
That's my
but
plug for you, man.
hey, I appreciate that, Bams. I really
I don't have
appreciate that.
anything to debate with you because we're on the fringes of any sort of disagreement. So there's no point debating the fringes if we agree 96% of the way when we haven't made the first step towards that 96%. So
Yeah, exactly. And
once we get there, then we can have that debate. Until then, I'm lockstep with you, brother.
yeah, I appreciate you being up and being here, bro. Like and thank you for everything. And no, honestly, I don't think we're probably like 99.9%. I don't know. There's probably like a 0.1%, and
I'm being super conservative. This is something that I don't normally do. I'm being super conservative with the 96%. I'm normally like 99.9 recurring.
right,
like
exactly.
3/3. You feel what I'm saying? 3/3.
Yeah, exactly.
Mapped out. So
Exactly. Probably the only thing we'll disagree on is like implementation or an analysis on society. But even then, if we have a different analysis on certain racial things in society, even then we're like whatever. We kind of agree at the end goal anyway. So it doesn't really matter.
We're all after the same outcome. That's it. And that point 0.0000 recurring until you get to that 1%. It's infinitesimal. It's inconsequential at the end of the day. If we go with your version of implementation, I'm even happier. Mine is just a slightly more jaded perspective when it comes to pushing for progress and the time spans we can do it. That being said, though, I've had my mind changed, and I would argue, like, even with that point, like people not being able to keep up with the times and the changes fast enough. And changes happening too fast. I think that a lot of that is just people's discomfort with accepting that they aren't the center of the universe, if that makes sense. Like it's a bit more of like a philosophical position that I've started to drift into these days, where it's not so much people like, I mean, bigots are bigots, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I've talked about this in that Discord chat as well. But a lot of people, they're unwilling to look at things from another perspective, which leads to them having a very shallow frame of thought, which then leads to them holding decisions that harm other people. And especially with like,
hey, what are you doing, man?
Like with the trans debate, for example, like trans people exist. Hey, Teddy, calm down. Trans people exist whether someone likes it or not. I'm all for it because let people live their best life and their best representation.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, Bams. Can you give me 1 second? Ziggy, go ahead and come on up. Ziggy, I'm still taking guests. And no, I don't want more government control. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But Ziggy, go ahead and come on up. I'm still taking guests. Go ahead and come on up. But yeah, go ahead, Bams.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So with the trans debate, like I think people need to. A lot of the people that oppose it, even within the sporting thing, when you were talking about the governing bodies making that decision as to whether trans women or trans men can compete with their identified gender. Like for me, I know like 3 or 4 trans women off. Like I can count by hand in real life. I can count out of millions of people or thousands of people that I know, millions that I know by degree of 6. And none of them play sport. So it's like this. The issue of trans women in sports and trans men in sports is for me a topic that's sort of been blown up. Like I know you've got Leah Thomas, for example, the swimmer, but it has been blown up to become a culture war issue. And I think
Hey,
when people bulk at it, I always
hey, Bams, give me.
Trans women, that play sport.
Hey, Bams, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second because there's an echo for some reason. Let me turn it off and.
Yeah, that could be me.
There we go. I think that's better.
Is that better? Yeah. Yeah. How many trans women do we know that play sport outside of Leah Thomas? We could probably count the trans athletes. I think there was a New Zealand weightlifter, and she was competing. She didn't win anyways. So it's like the notion that we're going to have a whole bunch of Joanna Mans coming to play
Yeah,
in
it's silly.
WNBA, for example.
Exactly, it's completely silly.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bams, I'm
I
sorry.
don't
Give
know
me.
of any.
Bams, I'm sorry. Give me
I
one
just-
second because I got another guest on,
Sure.
on my TikTok. Give me 1 second and let me ask him.
Yeah.
Hey, Red, how's it going, Red? Are you over 18 and do you disagree with me that leftist policies are better for society? Red, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So, are you 18 plus, and do you disagree with?
36.
Cool. Do you disagree with me that leftist policies are better for society?
I agree that they're better in the short term, but in the long term, they're all harmful.
They're all harmful in the long term. Okay, gotcha. Bams, let me go ahead and talk to this guy, but I appreciate you being up here. All right.
Hey man, yeah, I'll let you go, man. I don't want to hog the stream, anyways. Like I said, keep up the good work, big ups as well, and I'll be tuning in anyways. I can't hear anything from the other person, so I have to tune into YouTube to be able to hear it anyway. So I'll see you when I see you.
All right, gotcha.
Virtually, anyway.
Gotcha.
Yeah, be easy, stay blessed, man.
All right, you too. Be easy.
Catch you later.
It sucks that he couldn't hear you, but you could hear him. That kind of sucks. All right, Red, how's it going? All right, so you said that in the short term they are, but in the long term they wouldn't be. Go ahead and elucidate that for me. Elaborate more.
Yep. So all of the taxes and regulations end up basically outsourcing jobs. So if you keep taxing the labor force, that causes prices to increase, which causes employers to look for other sources to get things done, which causes them to go overseas, which causes harm to the people that would have had jobs.
That happens now without that.
We have those regulations and taxes in place now.
Yeah. But think about this. The regulations that we're talking about that cause people to go overseas are like things like, you have to pay them a certain wage, you can't pollute the environment, things like that. Are you saying that we shouldn't have those regulations, or?
I'm not saying that we should or we shouldn't. We can just recognize that, okay, we implemented all these regulations, right? Places like Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Chicago, the entire United States that used to create products. And then we just, after we created all those regulations, we outsourced the job to places that didn't have those regulations.
Right, but the issues of like the auto industry, it wasn't just overregulation that made people like leave. It was just essentially just cheaper labor and capital flight because black people started working.
Right, if you have a 75-cent minimum wage and then you have $1, then you have $2, $4, $6, $7, $8. You keep doing that, and then employers do what? They outsource the jobs, and then you have a harm. So in the short term, yay, we made $15 an hour, but then in the long term, you're not making anything because they got rid of the jobs.
Right, but labor costs wasn't just wasn't the sole issue that caused people to cause the industry to leave America, right? It was other things.
You're strawmanning. That's not what I said. I just told you in detail how these policies create long-term issues that society hasn't even been able to solve.
Right, but the first thing that you brought up was what was labor costs. What I'm saying is that the issues that you're bringing up, the reason why jobs get outsourced is a lot more complicated than just simply labor costs. That's the one that people bring up a lot because it's the easiest one to understand. But labor costs is not what caused the outsourcing of American jobs, or not. It wasn't solely that.
So there's labor costs and regulations.
Right? And regulations.
Right. So if I say you can't, you have to do this, this, and this to have a steel mill, or to produce iron ore, or to cut down trees, or all of those things, right? Or I say you need this insurance, and we need to insure all the workers, right? All of those things are factors and leftist policies that lead to us outsourcing the jobs. And then you want to say some stuff like, oh, California is the biggest economy in the world. No, you just fucking shut down all the other states, and you got everything from overseas that comes in through California.
Well, I ain't saying anything about California, but like you realize there are like economic factors that go into this competition as well. So if we're gonna say that, what I want to understand is what would actually be the point here, because we need to have, a lot of these regulations in place. We have to have them because we know that the industry doesn't regulate itself and starts to abuse its workers. So if we don't have those regulations, but then that causes them to go ahead and move them overseas to places that don't have the regulations, doesn't that mean that we should put the blame more on the companies that want to pay fucked up labor and have crazy working hours and horrible working conditions?
I think it's hypocritical to create regulations and then outsource to places that don't have the same regulations. and
But we're
protections.
not outsourcing it. It's those companies that are outsourcing it because they don't care about human well-being.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You can say it however you want. Corporations are if the government's not going to stop, if they're going to stop them from not doing it here, but not stop them from getting it from somewhere else, it's a problem. Either way,
They can't stop them from getting it somewhere else because that's just how the market works.
absolutely could. They could absolutely look at places that don't have similar regulations and say, "Hey, we're going to tariff this 9,000%. We're going to tariff this 100,000%." They could absolutely stop it, and they choose not to.
Wait, tariff at 9,000%, but they actually can't do that because the reason why they can't do that is because not everything that we need comes from America. You understand that, right?
Are you claiming that the government doesn't have power over imports?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the things that we need for in order to manufacture and function in America are not made in America. Like for example, rare earth metals. America doesn't have rare earth metals. We have to get them from somewhere else. So if a company is going to export the job, yeah, because it's not made here. We literally don't have it. So how would they tariff something that we literally do not have?
So you're bringing up a completely separate point than what I'm talking about, and I don't know how you got there.
Okay. You're talking about the thing is if we regulate these companies will then outsource to countries where they don't have those regulations, and America can just tariff those companies. Tariff those countries. They can't
Right.
do that all the time.
But you're going to a specific point that's not what I'm talking about.
All right, so allow me to understand what you're talking about, because from what I heard, if we have these policies where we have these regulations, these companies who do not care about humans will then outsource and put those companies
let me give you an
in.
example. Call centers, right?
Mhm.
Every single place that you call, you're getting a robot or somebody from India, right? This has nothing to do with rare earth. It has everything to do with taxes and regulations, right? If I get somebody in the United States, I need to pay them $7.40 an hour, and they need to have insurance, and I got to give them X amount of hours, all the BS. And so what they do is they outsource it. It has nothing to do with rare earth. It has nothing to do with tariffs, tax. Like, we understand that those leftist policies is what caused those jobs to leave. That's it.
The thing is, what I'm trying to say is that should we not have those regulations at all? Then is that what you're trying to argue?
But what I'm saying is, if we're going to put ourselves in a predicament where we're just gonna go to somewhere that doesn't have those regulations, where they don't have to pay them X amount of dollars, then no, that regulation is now only causing harm. It's not causing the good. It's not causing somebody to get that minimum wage and to get that insurance and get health and all that. It's just causing a loss. It's just causing a giant loss. Now nobody has the job.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. So why would the regulation cause harm and not the company that wants to pay crap and have horrible working conditions? Why is
I mean, we
why
could
is that
argue
not harm?
we could argue that they're both causing it, but the government is just not patching the hole, which is what I have a problem with.
Okay.
Right?
How
You're
do you
gonna say- you're gonna-
how
you're gonna
how do
hold me
you
to a standard as an American business, but even myself, right? If I was gonna get a call center, I'm not gonna get one in the U.S. because it's just gonna cost me more. And so, if the government's not gonna patch that, why are you patching anything?
are you also going to be more profitable here?
Right? No, you're not.
Yes, you are.
You're gonna be more profitable here. How?
Because what is the main complaint about? Matter of fact, you made the main complaint about call centers. That it's always an Indian person picking up. That's one of the main complaints.
Right. I don't believe that you're going to be more profitable if you get Americans.
Why not?
Because it's literally cheaper to get somebody from India to do it.
Just because something is cheaper doesn't mean that it's more profitable. Because efficiency is causes profit as well, right?
I agree.
All right. So if an American call center is going to be more efficient than the Indian one, which one's going to be more profitable?
If it was going to be more efficient, then that's what we would see in the marketplace, and we don't.
Yeah, we do.
Where?
It depends on which industry you're talking about.
Name a company that we can call right now, and we're going to get an American.
Mine.
Okay.
I work for an insurance company, bro. You can call, you're going to get an American.
What insurance company?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you that.
So not a major one, you're saying?
It's non-standard, but it is a major one. It has $13 billion in assets, but it's not it's not like USAA or Geico. As a matter of fact, that's another one. You can call USAA, Geico, or Progressive and get an American. I've called Progressive and gotten Americans all the time, especially in the claims department.
Let me see. I'm going to give them a call. See what we get here.
Bro, it's 9:30. You're not gonna reach anybody right now.
I want to get an
They're
Indian
home.
or a robot.
Yeah, they're home because it's 9:30. Everybody's home right now.
And even your American workers they're about to get replaced by AI. So the regulations are not helping.
They're not gonna get replaced by AI, bro.
Yes, they are. I'll give it
Bro,
6
bro,
months.
bro, my company actually tried AI. They laid people off. They have to hire people back because people didn't like AI. People actually like human interaction. They don't like robots.
6 months.
All right, sure. You could say 6 months. You want to bet me money it doesn't happen?
Yeah, I'll take that bet. How much would you want to do? $100?
Yeah, we could do $100 in 6 months. You're saying that all the jobs are going to be replaced. Who's going to be replaced by AI in 6 months?
I will say in 6 months, all of the major insurance companies you will be talking to AI instead of regular people.
Even in claims, customer service, it's all going to be AI.
Yes.
FNOL.
Have you heard the new AI? The new AI calling systems? It's insane.
So you're saying FNOL, customer service, claims, in 6 months is all going to be AI.
Yes.
Cap.
I'm gonna give you a follow. I'll give you a follow, and then we'll see in 6 months.
Yeah, we'll see in 6 months. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. It's not there yet.
It is there now.
No, AI is not that intelligent. It just spits out it just spits shit out. It just spits out language. It's not intelligent yet.
Right. So
AI has no idea what it's doing. AI can't think.
We are at the point now where AI, if you feed it the resources, right? Insurance companies know what to do and what not to do. They feed it the resources, and it replies with those answers. So if you have a question about your insurance, there's plenty of AI that can do it. ChatGPT can do it. Perplexity can do it. Grok can do it. Gemini can do it. There's like a dozen of them.
Yeah, sure. It can answer a question about your policy, but it can't actually talk to you. And when I'm talking about talking to you, I'm talking about comprehending what you're saying. It can't do that.
You're insane. That's just factually not accurate. But we can agree to disagree. Do you agree that the policies I outlined have caused long-term harm?
No. Because it hasn't caused long-term harm. It's made our workplace better. Why would we not make our workplace better? And not only that, not every single company left the United States anyway, right? The auto industry left the United States for several different reasons. It wasn't just labor and regulations. But when it comes to every other industry, like America has basically the biggest tech industry on the planet, and majority of our economy is still manufacturing. And we had that with the regulations, with the environmental protections, with the wage protections, all of that, and we're still the largest economy.
I would disagree. I would say Tel Aviv, Singapore, China, Shanghai, Beijing, even Canada. I believe that the metric that we're using to say that it's Silicon Valley is just a lie based on U.S. dollars.
I have no idea what that means. You're saying that Canada has a bigger tech industry than America?
Then Canada is what fueled language models and machine learning.
Canada was what fueled. Nah, I think that's incorrect. Let me make sure. You're saying that Canada was the primary, like, innovator of machine learning and AI?
Yes. They were doing this when I was like 8 years old. It was one of the first things I studied when I got a computer. I believe it was Geoff University, and there was another one, University of Toronto, I think.
Okay, I found a source that says that like AI in Canada, AI was Canada was one of the leaders of AI, but are you saying that they were the main innovator?
There was a guy, I believe he was out of New York, and he couldn't get the machine processing. Like they couldn't get enough processors. So they moved to Canada because Canada had, I think it was cobalt or some material they needed to make these machines. And that's when Canada became basically like the father of AI. They were in machine the shit that we're seeing now. They were doing that shit in like I think it was like 2003.
Well, like ChatGPT and shit.
Like the not exactly OpenAI ChatGPT, but that the same concept.
Didn't there weren't there rudimentary AI like back in the 80s in the United States?
You could say. I mean, we had machines, we had the computing, we had the internet, but it wasn't.
No, we had machine learning like back in the 80s.
Not like the large language models, the machine learning and the deep learning.
No, we didn't have. Yeah, of course, we didn't have that. Are you saying that that the large language models and machine learning that came from Canada instead of?
Yeah.
You're saying large language. It wasn't machine learning. You said language models, right?
Large language model, machine learning, and specifically deep learning. Like the stuff that we're looking for that we're starting to see a little bit of now. That's where they really came to shine. They were putting billions into this when I was double digits. When I was 10. And even the sites that we use, a lot of these websites are from Tel Aviv.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, I was pioneered in Canada.
Yeah,
But
this is like the first thing. I got a computer and I was like into this shit. I was like, oh wow, this is cool.
okay, but what would this show?
Just that Canada's probably years ahead still, and these companies that claim they're from the U.S. like Google and stuff, they're doing the same stuff in Beijing and Shanghai, just because it's cheaper.
Like what? Like, well, Google is not in Beijing. Like I don't think they're allowed to be over in China. They have like their own thing.
They have these little subsidy companies that they run through. I can't remember the name of it, but the technology they have over there is, I would say, 5-10 years ahead of us.
What type of technology?
Their some of their AI programs, their 3D printing programs, a lot of this stuff, it will blow your mind. The shit they got over there, it's insane.
Right. They invest a lot more into that than we do over here.
Well, we invest more, which is why if you were to just Google search, where's what place is the biggest for it, but the money doesn't go as far. right? We're spending more dollars. Our dollars have more value. I think we're at times 7, whatever they
Right, because AI in America is a bubble. They're just moving the money in between each other. But what I'm saying is that what is this all? What would this all show exactly?
it just shows I don't hate regulations, right? I don't want people to be unsafe. But we have to look objectively and be able to acknowledge the pros and cons of it, right? We have to weigh it honestly. And
Yeah,
so
we have to weigh it. But what I'm saying is that you're saying that these things in the long term is gonna harm us, but you're not coming up with any solution on what exactly to do, because none of us want to work in an unsafe working environment. None of us want to do that. But you're saying that, oh, if we make this regulation, they're gonna leave. Then fuck them. I don't know, like tough cookies. Like human beings should matter more, right?
I would like to say yes, but in this late stage capitalism, whoever gets the corporations win.
Yeah, fuck capitalism. Then we shouldn't do. Let's go ahead and get rid of capitalism.
Which we can get rid of capitalism after we perfect AI and robotics, right? Once we have the AI and the robotics, if the whoever has the corporations there, when it's perfected, they win the race. And whoever wins the race, they can do universal basic income. They can afford to, pay their people. Everybody else is screwed.
Right. So like the thing is, have you seen the models of what would happen if we reach super intelligence and generative AI?
You mean Terminator or The Matrix or iRobot? Which one?
No, I'm not talking about movies. I'm talking about actual real models that they actually ran simulations on. Because like AI, even what we have right now, when we let it when we let it go ahead and run loose within these little models, they actually have chosen several times to kill humans. So
Yeah.
should we rush to that?
I don't think so, but I mean, we need to find a healthy medium with all of this, right? We need to find a healthy medium with robotics, with AI, with regulations, with labor laws, and what we have now is just bad for the United States. We have a situation where we're literally outsourcing almost everything, and that is not bad. If we're not producing, if our GDP, we can't just be consumers.
Yeah, we outsource. We outsource mostly like the thing we outsource mostly is like low skill things. That's what mostly gets outsourced. Things that require high skills, we actually recruit.
Can you give me an example?
Medicine. We have a bunch of Indian and African doctors. We actually recruit for that, so people come here.
I don't know if that's a good example.
You asked me to give you an example of things that we recruit for.
Our
Medicine is one of them.
Also harmful,
Like yes, our healthcare system is not good. I didn't say our healthcare system is great. Our system is not good. But when I talk about recruiting, I'm talking
insurance.
right. So what I think we should have single payer. But when I'm talking when you ask you, and for example of things that we recruit for, medicine is one of them. We recruit a lot of Indian and African doctors. That's one of the main things we recruit for.
I guess if that's the hill you want to die on there, sure.
I mean,
But I just
all right.
feel
So
like we're
my
just
argument is that yeah, we outsource a lot, but the main things that we outsource are low skill labor. The things that require higher skills we actually recruit for, and medicine and technology are one of them. We get a whole bunch of Indians in the tech industry right now, a whole bunch of East Asians as well, and when it comes to finance, we get a whole bunch of people from Europe in finance. Like
But I
we
feel like
inbound bunch of those things.
I feel like bringing other people here instead of cultivating a culture where the people here can do it. I feel like that's part of the problem. Like,
No, we can cultivate a culture of everybody doing it. I agree with that, right? We should cultivate that culture. My only point is that the outsourcing is the huge majority of it is low skill labor, which is like almost every country does that, or industrialized country will do that. Is low skill labor. Things that require skilled labor, those are not being outsourced. We're not like the electric companies are not shutting down and going to Mexico. Like your electric company is ran by your local state or a company there. They're not shutting down and going to Mexico. You
I
see what I'm
agree
saying?
with that.
Yeah, that's what I
agree
mean.
with that. I just feel like I not to disagree with you at all. I completely agree. I just want to see us not bringing anybody from anywhere, not to even be racist or anything. I would just want to see us develop the workers here. I feel like all of those things are part of the problem. Like
Yeah.
we have 300 million people here, but we're gotta bring some guy from here or some guy from there to do this job. And so I just
Right.
wanna see
So
us do that.
one of the leftist policies that can help with that is universal education and bringing back skilled trade in high school.
I'm not super far right. I do believe in education and healthcare. I think those are two things that I don't want to force it, but we should have a government option. I do think that we need to crank down on these insurance companies, all of them, and just make sure you can't just run off into the sunset with people's money all the time, because that's insane. I'm not against those.
100%. All right, bro. We're at the 15-minute mark, but I do appreciate you being up here, though, right?
All right, man. Good talking to you.
All right. Have a good one. All right, guys. What time is it? 9:48. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Babe, did you pop an Eddie Winslow? No, I didn't. Oh, you didn't pop one. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and get off. I'm gonna go ahead and pop me an Eddie Winslow. I'm gonna have a probably have a good time tonight. I do appreciate y'all. Nice conversations. Was just a little got a little bit slow at the end, but great conversations. I appreciate you all. Definitely come in next time. Should I give it a few more minutes to see if I get another guest? Actually, no. I've been on for 2 hours. Yeah, I've been on for 2 hours. So I don't need another guest. Like I always say, y'all, I don't talk to comments. So anybody who disagrees or anything like that, I'm just gonna bring you up. And I appreciate everybody who watched. I appreciate everybody who watched me on YouTube. All you are wonderful BAMs. I appreciate you. If you watch me on Facebook, I appreciate you there as well. And if you watch me on TikTok, I appreciate you there as well. Tomorrow I will be on same time, 7:30 to 10. Remember, y'all, to stay smart, be observant. Remember that you're fallible and remain thoughtful. That means to be soft. You all are wonderful. I appreciate you. Love you. You have a good night.